Welcome to the Conscious Creative Podcast, your weekly dose of soul-to-soul conversation that will have you saying peace out to your 9 to 5 to explore in your sacred calling. The topics center around conscious business and interviews with the folks who started them. We'll be exploring the art of being human and what it takes to live your life fully expressed and financially free. I'm Christina Gomes, and I went from high-paying job as a psychotherapist to leaving it all behind for my desire to travel the world playing my original music, to becoming the CEO and soulpreneur founder of freeyourcreativity.org, where I help visionary leaders create the businesses of their wildest dreams. If you have a sacred calling, stick around. My prayer is that you become the permission slip for the collective as you hear the soul-inspiring stories that call you forth into creative action. Let's get to the soul. Another interview series, What It Takes to Become a High-Value Guide and Raise Your Prices to Match. I'm about to invite Kalisee into the room. She's my current client. We have about a week or two left of the business immersion for this cohort. And Kalisee has had some amazing revelation. She's called in high-paying clients and activated her mentorship program. And without further ado, let me invite Kalisee into the room. So fun. I was just introducing you to my group briefly. But what I love most about working with Kalisee is actually we have a very similar lifestyle, and she's heading to where I live in Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. And it's really cool to be able to support people who are wild and free and have sovereignty and abundance at the heart of everything that we do. And so it's been such a joy supporting you, but I wanted you to introduce yourself to the audience and let them know a little bit about what your services and offerings are.
Yeah, thanks. And also it's just a joy to also work with you, and we met once at the lake too. And so that's really cool. And it's such a big part of my life, the lake itself. So it was really awesome to bring you as a co-creator into this project that was really birthed at the lake as well. So thank you. I'm Kristen Kalisee, and I'm a channel and the founder of Spiral of the Star, which I act as the spiritual advisor, basically, of this space. And the mission of Spiral of the Star is to connect people to their spirit. And we can never really be disconnected from our spirit, but I help people basically remember how to connect to their spirit. And a lot of times we get stuck in our bodies. So we start with the body. We start with the really simple healing some of the past pains and trauma. So when we receive messages from our guidance, they're clear. And that leads us eventually to really living deep, fulfilled lives in our mission. So the mission of Spiral of the Star at its core is to connect people to their missions on planet Earth.
Oh, I love that. And we need to be connected to our guides and spirit in order to feel really fulfilled, I feel like, in our missions. And because, as you know, there will be ups and downs and ebbs and flows in entrepreneurship and what I like to call soulpreneurship. So I'm so excited that you've stepped into your power in this work. And you're already empowered. This is what I love about the work that I get to do, is I really get to help empowered people and boost them on their journey, like optimize their sales systems, help them to craft offers that are really of high value, and really ultimately have the confidence to be able to say our prices out loud that are maybe higher than we've ever charged before. And so I wanted to give a little behind the scenes to my audience and group today around what was it like for you to really own, even more so, that you were the spiritual guide, especially for your people?
Mm-hmm. Whew, yeah, it was such a journey. It really was. I had to do a lot of work around money, around judgments around money. And I think the biggest shift for me within this whole training really was seeing that I was actually high value and understanding what that really meant. Because I had a lot of judgments, being truly honest, I had a lot of judgments towards people who were working in the spiritual spaces and charging a lot of money. And I just kind of had this changes things and XYZ. And, I really had to kind of like parse out, what does it mean to actually work in your mission's path, and also like allow yourself to be paid for that, and to own that I deserve to live well, and that I've put in a lot of work. And really a shift happened for me when I began just believing in myself, really, and having the confidence and speaking to people what I really saw. And that's when a really huge shift happened for me. And people start saying, like, no one's ever got that before. No one's ever said that to me before. No one's ever reflected that to me before. I've never felt like that before. And then I was like, okay, yeah, now I get it. Now I get like the value that I'm actually bringing to people's lives is life changing. And that to me now all makes sense. It's not just about like me doing something I love and you got to pay me for it. It's like the service that I'm providing has like a lot of value. And I know that. And I put in so much of my own time, energy, love, work, passion, and commitment really to my soul's journey to be able to bring you the kind of reflections that I do. And so that is, it's of high value. And I know you say this, and I truly believe it as well, that when people pay for something, when they're in reciprocity, they get more out of it actually. And it opens up my gifts even more when people are in true reciprocity with me.
Oh, I feel like that was so well articulated. It's like, these are the conversations that we're having behind closed doors, because not only when we start to feel like, wow, okay, this is really a life-changing offering that I'm able to provide for people. And it doesn't have to be this big song and dance of like 100 videos and stuffing our offers full of worksheets and all of these things. If that's a part of it, that's a part of it. It's part of mine. If it makes sense that it would be a part of my offer. But what really people are seeking is our support, our wisdom, those golden nuggets of truth that not other people are offering to them. And you've seen how they've really taken it in and been like, wow, this is valuable. And so it's helped you on your confidence journey of owning that, like, high value guides actually get to be paid more, not less. Spiritual guides should be paid more, not less. And I love how you mentioned about what it's really like for the other person, and you being enrolled in programs that have changed your life, not only mine, but you go into silence and go into this beautiful community here on the lake that is not free. Like, it may be accessible, but accessible is a subjective term. And this is what I want to speak to for anyone listening is like, sure, you may feel like some people can't afford your offerings, but there comes a point in your life where it's like, well, I would rather work with people who can, because they've done the work to see that this is valuable. It stretches them. It's not like they have the money, just laying around, just like sitting in bathtubs full of money. It's just that they are willing to stretch themselves and find the investment, because it's an investment in themselves, and that activates people. And so I'm so stoked that you moved through that, because honestly, even with our high value price points, we are still accessible, and we still are running our lives and businesses in alignment with nonprofit status. Like we really, like, we have enough to live and live beautifully, but it's not like we're becoming billionaires and hoarding money under our mattresses. We are giving back and giving back in community. And when folks like you and I are abundant, what we can really create in our lives. So I'm so stoked you spoke on that. Is there anything else you want to say about that and your people investing in themselves highly? What has that done for them?
Yeah. I love that. What I want to say is that, it's absolutely true. It's like the people that are working with me that are stretching themselves. And that is you say this as well. It's like an energetic boundary. And it lets me know that the people who are coming to me and investing in me actually really want to work with me and really want to do the work. It's like they have identified this as super valuable for them. And why would I want to work with someone who is unsure of this relationship or feels like, actually, I don't even know if this is worth it for me. It's like, I do want to spend my time working with people who are like, that is what I want. If that's not what you want, then yeah, you should work with someone else who has that, who brings that out in you, who brings that out of like, yes, I'll spend my money on this. Absolutely. So it just helps me to know who really feels it and who really knows and who really has the call deeply. And so, yeah, of course, it's the people that I actually want to connect with. And it doesn't really have anything to do with the money. It just has to do with the understanding that like there is going to be a high level transfer of information. And it has taken me a lot of time and valuable money and to get that and to be able to transmit that. And for you to get that from me, like there's reciprocity, and that's really beautiful. And also for people that I do want to work with, people who want me to feel comfortable and live well. Like I was happy to pay you because I'm like, yeah, I want Christina to live well. I want all of us to live well. So I don't feel like, how could she charge me this? It's like, yeah, I want her to be successful. And like you're saying, like you are a person who's a good person. You invest in your company and you invest in other people and you invest in hiring other people. It's not like you're hoarding your money. And we are channels for money. And what I've really come to understand more deeply is that money is neutral. And I've always heard that, but I did have just this idea of like, once you start trying to expand into getting more money, that it changes you. And I've really just seen how actually, no, it does change you because you're more relaxed. You feel more safe. Your nervous system is more calm. You don't have to worry about how you're getting your next meal. Like, yeah, it does change you, but for the better, especially if you're a grounded person. And just, it's all really about opening up your channel to funnel money through. Like, yes, I'm receiving more money, but I'm putting more money out. I'm paying for Airbnbs that people have like, thoughtfully constructed and I feel safe in, and I'm, helping my friends out. And I send money as soon as I get it. And that's how I work, how I tithe. And so that's really beautiful to be able to send somebody like a big sum of money rather than like, here's $25. And that's just being a channel for currency.
Oh, I love this so much because we are both channels. This is another thing that Kalisee and I have in common, and we're living similar lifestyles. It's almost like I attracted a soul aligned client, like all like what I actually talk about. And it's interesting because a few years ago, I channeled a program called Deep Money, which comes now as a bonus inside the Conscious Creative Business Immersion. And exactly what you're talking about, I channeled around this word currency, and it is a current. And you've been able to tap into the current of abundance because you circulate the money. It's not like, oh, I need money so I can sit on a pile of gold and be like this like queen on a pile of gold. It's like the queen actually invests in her people. And in order for you to really open your channel and give at the level that you're giving to your people, you need to have that supported nervous system. You need to eat great food. You need to be living in soft places that feel safe. And if you're anything like me, Kalisee is I personally lived with like rainbow people, traveled barefoot. I grew up I did not grow up wealthy, but I also made a choice to live in a van at one point. And that was really interesting. But then I started to get these downloads of what abundance really was and what wealth really was. And it comes from the inside out. And you had found, I see you as the queen of abundance, and you're teaching on this with your people, but you had found money on the ground. And that's what we're talking about here of like, yes, you are going to attract clients, and your clients will be in reciprocity and pay you a great wage and they'll love it. They'll love seeing everybody successful because abundance grows. But you will be surprised at how much surprise abundance happens when you start to own that you're a channel for money and abundance and currency. Did you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, there was something that was coming up. I'll just start talking. Hopefully it comes back around. Yeah. I guess one thing is that I've always had an abundant mindset in certain ways, but I had this aversion to the money part of it. So I've lived, to be honest, underneath the poverty line most of my adult life. Like I've had two salaried positions that were great, but other than that, I've traveled the world, lived really well also. I've always had really nice places to stay, and I've done work trades, I've done this and that. And it's like I've just always had a certain standard of like, this is what I want to experience in my life. And if it dips below that, then it's like I find a way to expand, but I always found a way to do it without money. And I felt like that was more noble and more valuable. And I had this like big moment, actually, it was pretty recently when my mom came to visit me, and we were like out walking around, and this man came up to us and like wanted to sell me a hammock. And it was a beautiful hammock. And it was, handmade by this man in Mexico. And like I could tell he'd had a hard day and like he wanted to sell something, and I wanted this hammock. And I was so embarrassed also to like let my mom know that I didn't have enough money to pay $40 for a hammock. And it's like I wanted that money, not just because I want this thing, but because I wanted to pay this man for his beautiful work. And I would have loved to pay him 80 instead of 40. And I've done that when I've been in abundance, just pay people more. And that feels amazing. And so that was like a moment for me too, where I understood really in my body, like, okay, yeah, you're by just constantly saying like, I can live well without money. It's like, what impact does that have on the earth also? Then I kind of, in a way, I'm hoarding in a different way because I don't have more money to give to more people and to spread it out to where I'm currently living. So yeah, it was just a shift in mindset and a shift that I really felt in my body. I was like, no, I want to expand. Yeah, so it's just a really interesting moment for me.
I love that so much. This is something that I came to around that many spiritual entrepreneurs feel like it's more noble to live with less. Mm-hmm. And I've been unpacking this in my content and in the coaching containers. These are the conversations, again, that we're having behind closed doors that give these little aha moments and realizations and expansions right in the calls. And so I'm so happy that we get to have this conversation for people watching, because it may be hidden, this subconscious belief that we are righteous or more noble or more spiritual if we have less. And it comes from, maybe there is a time in our lives where we have gotten rid of things or like renounced the regular kind of normal paradigm living. That's why you and I live in places like Mexico and Guatemala, where there's a lot of spiritual containers and energy. But we also now are living with Indigenous people and people who actually have less. And so I'm really hearing, is it more noble, or can we utilize these gifts? Because there's so many people with so much money actually who want our gifts. And when we get to share our gifts with people who are like, oh yeah, 10K. No, yeah, that's affordable. There are people that say this all the time, but that man with the hammock who's living on his art and his handicrafts in a jungle or in a Indigenous community, we get to support the places that we live as not just with our spiritual gifts, but with our currency, with our money, with the things that, with this powerful energy that man now went home and fed his children. And yes, it's less to live in these countries, but we get to give more. That's not why I'm here. I'm not here to try to pay less for my vegetables. I'm like here to actually like bring my gifts out and forward, where in certain places in the world, I felt creatively stifled. Did you ever feel that, like living in the matrix or living in these kind of systems? How did you leave and become this spiritual guide? I want to talk about that.
Yeah, well, it started a long time ago. I left the United States when I was 22. I moved to Greece by myself right when I graduated university. And then I like immediately got a job in Singapore. So I was teaching. I didn't have to apply to it or anything, which was great. So Yeah, I was living in Singapore. I was introduced to yoga there. I grew up Christian, so I've had a relationship with spirit and with, guides and guidance and God very deeply for ever, as long as I can remember in this lifetime and in other lifetimes as well. And when I was introduced to yoga, it was kind of like this, it just did an expansion of like, okay, so all of these things, which I've been kind of doubting about my own faith, there are other philosophies that I feel more like aligned with actually. And I just continued exploring. So I became a yoga teacher. I traveled to India in 2014. I moved back to New York City, and that was really like when I knew I couldn't live in the United States ever again, like really stifling to my soul. And it just seemed like New York is a really inspirational place, right? But you kind of have to like have the reasons to want to be there. And I think that New York is super expansive for a lot of people who have the passions around what happens in New York City, like being on Broadway. And I was working at Lululemon. There's like 3 people I worked with at Lululemon who are on Broadway now, like actually made it. And like, congratulations. Like that is so amazing to see, but it just killed my soul to be there. Was not for me at the time, especially. I did do another yoga teacher training with like the best yoga teachers in New York City. I got really lucky and won like a yoga scholarship. I entered a raffle, but then I actually like messaged them and told them I was interested in it. So the person who won decided to drop out. They couldn't make it. And so then I got it because I had been the only one who messaged personally. So that's, like not just luck, that's alignment. And what else? I moved back to Singapore for a couple of years, and then I was introduced more to Zen Buddhism. I did a yin yoga teacher training. I got really into that. And then I decided to come to Latin America because I had never been before. I'd only lived in Asia, and here was traveling around teaching yoga, doing work trades. Like that was a year that I really got to, was like when my soul found home on this. I wonder if you guys can hear me. I think I'm cutting out a little bit.
I heard this is when my soul found home, and
Yeah.
I was like, that's really
Yeah.
you cut in and out a little bit, but ultimately what I'm hearing is that, especially for this interview series of what it really takes to become a high value guide, is this was not overnight success. That this was the culmination of years of acquiring knowledge and wisdom. But then when you were ready, like, here I go, I need to package up my gifts into a program that can be really well received and help people truly and deeply. And you had already done a round of the spiral of the star. But how about we get into a little bit around what drew you to the Conscious Creative Business Immersion and how you were able to elevate the spiral of the star, not only elevate your group program, but decide, hey, I actually want to open up a mentorship and work with people truly and deeply. And what was that like for you?
Yeah. So the spiral, it's interesting. I'm about to do 21 days of silence tomorrow. I did 40 days of silence last year with Las Pyramides, which is, my soul's home on this run. And the teachings that I really, really identify with, it's Kabbalistic, and around the tree of life and stuff. And so the whole point of our journey of 40 days in silence is finding our missions in life. And I knew what I had to do. I knew I was supposed to become a spiritual teacher. My guides have been sending me all the signs, all the numerology, all the cards, everything. And I was like, okay, I let go of my client. I used to work as a marketer, and I let go of my only client the day before I went to 40 days of silence and got out and didn't have any form of income. And I didn't start the spiral right away. It didn't come through. It actually came through in a dream, like in December, when I actually had time to work on it. So that was one thing, is that like I kept trying to grasp onto different ways of making money. And then all my clients just left, and I had 2 weeks at home with my parents. And then I finally had space to work on the spiral. And I channeled the structure, and everything else came through in a dream. And then I started like a really low value offer. And I was so excited about it. And I just brought so much energy to it. And other people did too at first. And then I just kind of noticed that like people started to drop off. People weren't there all the time. Like it became really obvious to me that yeah, stuff in the like $55 to $111 range is just like, it's not, it's just like something you're doing on the side. It's very like a small thing. It's not like, oh, this is like my life changing moment. It's just like something that's like adding a little something to your life. And that's great. And that works for some people too. But then I realized that that's not what I want. And that's really when I joined even the Conscious Creative Business Immersion, I was thinking about doing something else, like also for helping people kind of like you bring through their mission into their marketing. That was kind of what I was going for more, because I had been doing that work a little bit already. And I felt like that was more valuable. And then I just started to see that it really wasn't. And through our work together and just like the way that it worked, then Spiral of the Star became the focus. And I really let myself feel that it was valuable and trust myself and actually know that that's where my expertise lies, really, in everything. And that was a big journey. But yeah, going from thinking that it's just a small thing to knowing that what's really going to bring me joy is like helping people truly and deeply shift their lives and really giving amazing guidance and giving someone something that can change their life forever, and not just something that's like that they do on, on days when they have an abundance of time and they can manage to make the call. It's like, no, this is something that you're planning.
Hey there, visionary leader. If you're resonating with this message, I'd like to invite you into your next level life and business. Enrollment has begun for the Conscious Creative Business Immersion. This is my signature group container to help you design an offer so delicious, so juicy, so based on your soul gifts that you are thrilled to invite your soulmate clients inside of it. I'm going to teach you how to promote this offer with a ton of heart and to sell out this offer with ease to meet your revenue goals. I would love to have you inside if you are a visionary leader who knows that they are great at what they do. You'd like to collapse the timeline on how long it takes to reach consistent income with an offer that you truly love. Go to the link in the show notes to apply for the Conscious Creative Business Immersion. I will be sitting with your application individually, and I will send an email to let you know if you've been accepted in a few days after application. Thank you for trusting me with your vision, and I can't wait to see what we co-create.
Yeah. Yeah, you cut in and out, but the last thing that I heard was exactly, you were calling in committed people. You moved from having people that were like kind of in because of the price point, and you knew that. You're like, this was the first things that we were starting to come up in our coaching conversations was, hey, yeah, like I want to really give and I want to be accessible as spiritual entrepreneurs. It's nice that we are accessible, but what I teach on is that your content is amazing and accessible, and you share so much of your heart and yourself in your content that it's like, wow, we are accessible. And if somebody wants to get, a little bit of an elevation or a boost or get some guidance from you, you are there. But if they really want a life-changing experience, they have to commit, they have to be in reciprocation, and they get to invest in themselves just like you did, just like I did. It makes a difference. And so it's coming back to owning our value as a high value guide. And really, in order for you to put out the best possible offering, you again had to claim that you are ready for more. And whether that's more money or a nicer place to be able to channel our offerings, being able to go back into silence. And we get to pay for that. We get to pay those teachers. We get to pay that space as well and be in reciprocation giving to that space, because it takes an abundance and resources to run a space. So now you're going back into silence where you last channeled. This is a really cool thing about owning our value as a high value guide and owning our power as high, I don't know, high people, like being high off of life. Like when you get high off of life and you're tapped into high frequencies and your spirit guides and these other dimensions, you actually channel, you drop in the names of your programs, you drop in the signature processes. And that's what I want to reflect to you is like, you had that. And so coming in and like raising your price and getting that confidence and understanding how to articulate the value of your offer, it was already all bubbling to the surface. And it was just about that co-creation or that sounding board. And so I want to like say that for anyone watching, like, if you feel like, okay, yeah, I'm doing great. Like I am making an abundance. Like I am attracting clients. It's like having someone on your side who understands spirit and is deep. It's going to elevate you in so many ways. And your clients are experiencing that. What did your client, I want to ask, and so you can tell your audience, what did your client say about your program?
Yeah, my client, the first client that invested $5,000 with me said, after 1 week of working with me, he said, "This is the best investment I've ever made." And he just messaged me last night also and said, "You should double your prices."
$10,000 5-figure offer. And that's next.
Yeah.
And we get to go on that journey. And that's what it's about here is we have these fears around money. We have these fears around raising our price, but you went from a under $100 offer to a 4-figure offer that is being acknowledged that it can be a 5-figure offer. And it's like, wow, what confidence, but what depth we get to have in this world. And when you get to work with a few clients, that you don't have to work with 70 clients to make a great wage and a great living and be able to support yourself and go back into silence and circulate that money, you get that space to do the deeper work because you have the space now to go back into silence and channel your next service or content or next piece of the puzzle for your evolution and your client's evolution. Like this is what it's all about. And 1 or 2 or 3 clients get to pay for that. And it's cycling back into them. They get to re-enroll and get the best of Kalisee because you got to go back into where your soul feels happy. I'm so stoked that you'll be around the corner from me. So I wanted to ask, as we're getting closer to the end of this interview, what would you tell someone on the edge of investing big in themselves, either in their spiritual evolution or in becoming a high value guide or something that they know is going to stretch them, but they may have to move some money around. They may have to go and do some belief work around their abundance. But what would you say to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say like if you feel connected to the person that you're investing in and you feel that draw and you feel like it's just the decision you need to make, and then trust that it's going to feel scary to invest in yourself, but that you will get so much out of it. And it's not even, we have the doubts around, am I going to be able to do this? It's mostly around ourselves, right? Like, am I going to be able to pull this off? Am I going to be able to make this worth it for myself? And really, when you make a big investment, it's like you put the stamp of like guarantee on it, because there was no way that I was going to enter into your program and not do the work. You know, like I had invested a big amount of money for myself at the time, right? And now I feel like, wow, it's really affordable. And that's great, because at the time I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So that's great. You can just, you get to expand, and that's amazing. And you get to promise yourself basically and put a guarantee that you are going to make it work, because you've invested that amount of money and then you're all in. There was no way for me to back out, you know, after I invested that amount of money. And so that was truly transformative to me.
Oh, Transformagic, as you say. That is really revealing, because it is affordable price, and some people will have a different perspective, and some people will be able to afford your price, my price, another offering's price, and it's all subjective. It's all about the feeling inside. And that stretch that you made from, okay, this is expensive, or this is stretchy, or this is a big investment, to, wow, this is really affordable. This stretched you into being able to charge that much and more in the future. And really, really, that was the same journey I went on when I hired my first 5-figure offer, 10K, put 11K down actually on an offering. And it stretched me to the point where now I have an 8K offering. I have a 20K offering. And those are my favorite offerings, because in those offerings, I'm able to really, really be deeply supportive to my clients. Whereas my low cost offerings, they still exist, but they're not my favorite, because people go through them, they get results, but I'm not in their corner. I don't know what kind of results. I'm not having these potent and powerful conversations, because it's just not a high value model of business. I'm not going to show up the way I show up for you in a $300 offer, although it's available for folks who are at there. And let these investments stretch you, because there will be someday that you look back at a $10,000 offer, at a $20,000 offer. I've invested over $100,000 in growing my business and in my own evolution and my own rise. And I've never regretted a single investment. I've learned so much. And it was the investment that expanded me into recognizing a little poor girl from this small outside the city in the States that, oh, okay, this is actually just a little bit of money. 6 figures is actually just a little bit of money. And now I'm surrounded by millionaires and people who are impact investors and angel investors. And wow, I could be that someday. And you could be that someday. And everyone out there listening could be that someday. And it just would take that one moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to allow this investment to stretch me, because it's going to stretch me and expand me in ways I couldn't even possibly imagine. Oh my goodness. Well, I want to know, how can people reach out to you if they want to work with you, if they want to be guided spiritually and with depth and make the best investment in their lives with you?
Well, I'm going to be going into silence soon. So the best way would be to book a vision call with me. So you can follow me at spiral_of_the_star or kristen.kalisee.priya. And yeah, you just book a vision call with me at the link in the bio. And then when I'm out of silence, I'll be in touch with you and we can have a chat to see if you're aligned, to see if your vision, what you want to call through into this reality aligns with our magical circle.
Oh, I love that so much. And we're going to leave the links everywhere that this call and this session is going to be posted. I want to thank you so much for the way that you've shown up in the container. Also, like, you really are a high value guide because you're a high value client. Like, you don't just show up and sit in the back and just let the universe kind of do its magic. You meet the universe halfway. You met the container in every call, asking the most potent questions that not only elevated you, but then elevated everyone around. And I think this is why it's important that you, no matter which program you want to join, mine, Kalisee, someone else I've interviewed, someone outside of this group altogether, it's like joining the room is going to elevate you in ways you couldn't possibly imagine. And if you join a room with Kalisee, you will for sure be elevated because you asked the best questions, you showed up, your energy was felt in those containers. And I would invite anyone that wants to join a program like mine or Kalisee's to show up in that way. You're gonna get the best of the investment because you're going to really get the personal support that your soul is craving. So thank you for all of your beautiful questions and activating the channel within me. We can't do this alone. We've done so much co-creating, and I can't wait to see your rise. Keep in touch. We have another week left of the Conscious Creative Business Immersion, but you'll be going into silence soon. When you arrive out of silence, I will be there with a hug. I'll try to keep it cool because I'm a little intense. Someone that just came out of silence. I've been told, but so I know.
It's okay. I'm usually pretty good. I can flow in and out easily.
Okay. Cool. Amazing. Thank you so much for being on this call.
you. Thank you. So excited to see you soon. And thank you for all of your wisdom and the channel that you open up and the space that you have created for all of us creators. And I'm so happy that I worked with you and no one else. And yeah, thank you to Yulia as well for putting the idea in my head way back when too. So it worked out perfectly. I know it was divinely aligned.
Oh, thank you so much. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.